When you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you'll get to see when we're releasing new episodes as well as hear the teasers. Just type in Unshaved Podcast. On our last episode, this next part of my conversation with my husband, we go into the necessity or benefit of taking more time in our efforts to communicate and understand each other. He was explaining something to me and I was all for it. I was like, yep. Then I heard the word surgery. And I had on a mask, so I didn't even think he really saw my expression. But I was like, In my mind, I was like, this is shut down. You know what I mean? And
the words, right?
I don't understand.
Okay, I said it because this is something I had learned from my elders. It was like, say what you mean what you say. Am I taking it for granted?
Yeah,
because
or do I
know,
Or is it like this higher expectation because that's my husband? Or, that's... Now, after you're in it for years, you need to be accountable for, am I being productive or destructive?
The end results that could bring pain, so I'm not going to throw a rock.
Or how about eliminating the idea that what that other person does is intended with pain?
Right.
So it's like, let me look. Hey, welcome to Unshaved. I'm Takesha, and this podcast came to be simply because I wanted to archive conversations between me and my mother. And because we talked about pursuing a creative project together for a long time now, I just figured starting a podcast would kind of fit the bill for both. Our lives and relationship have had many twists, turns, highs, and lows, and the way we've gotten through them always started with raw conversations. We're consistently pursuing a deeper understanding of not only each other and our relationship, but also of ourselves. If the topics and conversations explored in this space help you to navigate your journey in any way, then that's even better. So whether it's just myself or if I'm joined by my mom or other guests, you can expect content that is explorative, honest, and maybe even just a little bit outside the lines. Welcome to Unshaved. Thank you to those of you who are returning listeners, as well as to those of you tuning in for the first time. This is the third part of our conversation pertaining to apologies, understanding, and forgiveness. If you've listened to the previous 2 episodes, you'll fully understand how my husband uses the example of rock and spear throwers regarding understanding the different styles of handling frustrations that occur in long-term intimate relationships. We also speak to the importance of transparency from elders when it comes to encouraging commitment and getting through tough and unexpected times.
Ducking and dodging and you have all these skills and these great defenses. No, it's just like, why go through all that? Why escalate it? Why not try to understand what the heck is causing these rock throwing and just give it time to work itself out? Right? And it's just like, okay, so you're an automatic rock thrower. So I tell you what, how about we refocus that aim?
Some people come from rock throwers or some people come from spear throwers. And I think that is a method of understanding. It's not saying that you can either be, in all things, you're prone to violence when you get angry or when someone gets flustered. No, there's many different ways people choose to handle anger, not just being, violent or retaliating. It sometimes can be just,
Silent treatment.
Silence. It could be like going within themselves where they become introvert.
Passive aggressiveness.
Yeah. So there's many different ways. But this all links to understanding the person that you are choosing to spend the rest of your life with. It taking that extra step to not just glance over or look past, or just excuse. It's like, no, let me understand this. Let me understand, because you're not just doing yourself justice for doing that, but you're actually doing them the greater justice.
Justice for your relationship.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because some people, sometimes you might get with the after so many years of someone, and you're just like, "Ugh, I don't like the way they do that. I don't know. I don't like the way. And it's like, well, how long have you known me?
You're funny. I definitely said that. Like, did you just meet me? Anyway.
Yeah. So, um, so that's what it goes into, that understanding. What do you think?
No, I think it was very descriptive. I think that and it's real. We don't have the same experiences, but we're trying to coexist and have a certain kind of experience. And so even if both of us had these ways of dealing with things, in order for our relationship to really work and for us to in order for us to have a real sense of a foundation or understanding, it's about what we're building here, right? So whether that's taking a little bit of what you've experienced, a little bit of what I've experienced, or just a common desire for a certain thing, right? And it could be new. It could look like something completely new than what either one of us have previously experienced. So we're building what we want. And that takes, I think, time to get on the same page, in a sense, to some degree.
Yeah.
That's the kind of work that people don't really talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know even with us and, things that I was like, the hell is happening here? You know what I mean? Just things you wouldn't expect. Like, it's like, I've known you for this long, right? So you think that things just get easier. And I think for me, when we went from like it just being, I don't want to say like all fun and games, right? But it was just easier for whatever reason. And then all of a sudden it's like, hold on, what is this new chapter? Why are we putting in, why does it require this work?
I think people call that after the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, exactly.
But then what they don't tell you is that there's a few more chapters after that.
And the honeymoon phase can last for different periods of time for different couples, right? And it wasn't until, I was speaking with an elder in my family that was like, this is why we should talk more as a family, and advised me to speak with someone else who's been married for a long time. And when I was able to talk with them, I was just like, what? So hold on. That's something y'all have gone through? Like, you go through, like, what? Nobody, see how I wouldn't know. I thought I was messing up. I thought like everything was just doomed. This is something you can work through. This is something you can, and it was just like, everybody talks about couple goals, power couples and things like that, but you don't really see the struggles aren't really put out there in a way where it's like, how do you know if this is just like at one other extreme that it's just like, yeah, we can't really do too much here anymore, or it's like you still have it. And I think the basic thing for us, and people know, like I said, this is our second time around, it was like, y'all love each other. Like, that's definitely something you can still work with.
And the thing is that it's not only, about quieting the ego. It's about that humility. It's about that humbleness. It's about that showing that fragility towards or for the other person that you really, really, truly care for, and allowing the conversation to be anew, allowing the discussion as to, okay, we thought things were this way, or it can just be a one party.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, it wasn't even necessarily, it had to be something that we were struggling with, but just as individuals, we're going to keep growing,
right?
And that changes things in our relationship.
It's so dynamic that we are.
Absolutely. And so it's like, and that's the thing, and I appreciate you as a partner, because I've personally had to be like, you know what? I know that I kind of set this particular course, and this is what I was expressing, and this is what I was feeling. Now that I have some new information, I would like to put this on the table, you know what I mean? So that we can give room for maybe a direction that I hadn't seen before.
Right. And sometimes, you can get to, announce, hey, the table's going to be remade. Could you please remove the plates, the forks, the glasses, all the condiments. Just take those off. We're putting a new cloth. And you know what? It's time for a new table. And then sometimes it could just be flipping up the whole dang table.
And you
And
know, I was thinking of, I don't know why I was thinking about Siamese twins. Like, I don't know why that kind of like joined together. Like, we're individuals, but we
mhm,
are joined together. And the decisions that I make and the decisions that you make, of course, we affect one another.
mhm,
And you have to learn how to work more harmoniously. And like you said, maybe, you know, maybe we thought it was going one way, but
mhm.
something that's interjected by another party, we have to consider this something. We have to consider something else.
Correct. You do. Um, you do. You do have to, consider it. I mean, wholly consider it. People, not just a glancing thought. That's my whole thing. It's about give that extra
There's
effort.
no real room for your ego.
There is none. There is none. Just when you think and your ego will always try to peek its head in, and try to say, listen, it's not me this time. Okay. It's not this superficial ego this time. It's the considerate and worried ego. I mean, not ego, right? And it always tries to sneak in. And that's the thing. You have to be vigilant to do a self analysis. Like, hold on. Am I really feeling this way about it because I have a full concern? Or am I feeling this way about it because I don't think I'm ready for this?
And we also have different approaches sometimes, right? So
Mhm.
where I may be more like, I might point it out a little bit more, where you may take more time to observe and see it's like this some type of a cycle, a phase of something.
And that's the thing. You need to observe. When you say, I don't think I'm ready for this, well, that can be approached. That can be resolved. If you don't think you're ready for this, that means you have really what you're saying, you have lack of information about what it is. Right. And that's something that can be resolved. When it's just like, I'm just doing this because I want to, or I'm just being combative or disagreeable because I feel like being disagreeable, right? I feel a certain way. Well, once again, that's the easier way out. That, to me, that's the easy way out. It's just like, no, take a couple of minutes and get informed.
And that's something that I really respect about you, because even when we have challenges or whatever, we don't know, we haven't figured a resolution. Like, I just love, you don't change up. You stay consistent too, as if there was no interruption. You're very consistent.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, just very consistent in that way. And again, it teaches me more, and of course, it makes me appreciate you more. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But and that's where the appreciation for speaking to someone who's an elder comes in, where they really, especially if they can be transparent, right? And you can have a real heart to heart, and it's just not, just and I don't mean to say this like in a way where I'm belittling prayer, right? I'll just pray about it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's not that type of advice. It's just like, yeah, well, it takes like when somebody can be transparent and take away that sense of like the possibility of embarrassment,
Mhm.
saving face and things like that, and can really be real with you about struggles.
Mhm.
You can have a conversation where it's like, oh, okay, so maybe I made this more catastrophic than what it is.
Okay.
Because I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to say this, because even looking back to our first marriage, right, when we first got married, um after that time apart, when we were separated, I was speaking with someone who I worked with who was older than me, and he asked me, what do you think you would have done different or anything like that? And it was just like, I think I would have had more compassion. I think I should have been more compassion, like understanding the individuals, right? Like, you have your things to work through, I have my things to work through, and not take these things so personal.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, more compassion, like this is a whole nother person, not just my idea of a person
Mhm.
that I'm involved with. And sometimes we have these ideas of people, these expectations, and we forget to meet them on the same like playing field. Like we're human. We're figuring this out together.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't look like perfection or your idea of that or what you think you should be modeling, it doesn't mean that it's nothing wrong. It just means you have to exercise these muscles together. Like it's not something that I can just dump on you or you can dump on me. And I think that one of the beautiful things about when we decided to, we weren't even necessarily reconciling. We were just having a conversation. We hadn't talked for years. And what we first acknowledged was that, and I remember this so clearly. I was talking about where I feel like I made errors, and you were talking about where you felt like you made errors. It wasn't this blame thing on each other. Like you could have done this a little better, and you were like, "Nah, you could have done this better." It was just like I fully took responsibility for the things that I did not do that I feel like I could have done better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a part of what I think we are learning even now, that we can still do better.
Right. With that understanding as well, it's, it's learned, right? It's a learned trait. It's a learned skill when you have the compassion, the ability, the humility to understand someone. And it's not like once you get married, all of a sudden you're this great understander, right? No, it's something you have to be working on. It's a skill that you have to be working on throughout your life. And whether you come from like a family background, where you had both parents in the household or you didn't, right? You still have to learn it. It's not just like, well, I had the advantage because I had two family households.
Mm-hmm.
No, not necessarily, right? Because I think that even in marriages,
two-parent households.
Two-parent households. When you have two-parent households, the children, right, are still outsiders when it comes to the relationship of that husband and wife. Yeah, they're family, but the intricacies, the behind the door conversations, the nuances, the looks, the gestures,
the things that were happening before you were even present.
Correct, right? Sometimes the child is not privy to what it takes to continue a 30, 40, 50 year, 60 year marriage, right? Or even longer. It's just like, oh, they just did it.
Like I never seen them argue,
right?
Like it doesn't mean that they haven't had any complications,
right? That's why when you were saying about speaking with an elder, right? And it's very important that not only you can speak with them, but they can be honest and transparent.
Absolutely.
Right.
It was so helpful. Like I immediately walked downstairs and took that humble pie and was like, essentially, I mean, it wasn't an apology, but it was definitely like, let's just get a little bit more understanding here. And then we had a beautiful conversation. Like, and the way we could just easily shift, you know what I mean? Like that's a skill that takes I mean, come on.
Sometimes you got to get out your own way. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you're the one causing that traffic jam.
Mm-hmm.
But all you see is something in the way and not realize that's you that's in the way. You're like, I know something's in the way and I know I'm not going to stand in my own way. It must be somebody else. So you start looking for blame. You start playing that blame game. It's this, it's that, it's this. Hold on. It's me. And the thing about it is that it's not me that I have something that is so unmovable. No, it's me refusing not to move, right? Not to open up, not to just say, you know what?
And to really listen.
Right.
And to really listen. I'm sorry, I think I took you off what you were saying, but yeah, it takes
this
work.
Is the flow.
Yeah.
It's the flow of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that at least in our relationship, just the forgiveness part of it is so like automatic after the understanding, yeah. It's not that it's the same thing, but they're like cousins.
Maybe tighter than cousins.
Yeah.
They're like peas in a pod.
Yeah.
They originate from the same source.
Yeah. Because when I understand you and I can look at the the hindsight view of what's happening, or what's happened, it's like, why wouldn't I be able to move with love and forgiveness? I remember when I was telling my grandfather, and he's one of the first people I was talking to about us getting back together, and he was just like, well, if y'all gonna forgive each other, just forgive each other. I was like, yeah.
And that's the nuggets. That's the nuggets. That's the nuggets. That was Jairus' soul. That was me. And that was like my elder. He was my elder. Right, it still is, because I still carry the gems that were, and the camaraderie and the understanding and the conversations and the insights and the motivations that he made me want to be better. Right, and he still does. He makes me value the unspoken things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And even like when I think about my great grandmother and your grandmother, like they both gave us the same advice in different times. Just like, be good to each other. And it seems so simple.
Right.
It's like, okay, be good to each other. Cool. I got him. But no, like it seems really simple. Right. But if you have any ounce of ego in there, you'll want to be better to yourself.
You don't know how challenging that is. It's like, that is one of the heaviest commands you can take. It's like, be good.
And I think that the more we grow, the concept is really sticking. And I think that it really feels bad if we deviate from that. It doesn't feel good.
It's like a time released. It's like a time release gem. It's like you get like a not even that. You first get a visual appreciation for something, like, that looks good. It's just pretty. Then after a while, you start seeing like, hold on, is that thing like reflecting light?
You do a little research, you learn its value.
Right. And then it's just time released. It's like over time you get to, appreciate it more. You get to see more things about it. Like, oh, wow, okay, it also does that. Oh, and it's made of that too. Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's the thing that, when you hear elders speak, that's the value in hearing from elders. It's that they might not be able to tell you the fullness of it, not because they don't want to. It's just because you, being a younger person, might not have gone through the same experiences, developed the same cognitive abilities as of yet. Have just been through different life trials and joys, right? I'm not saying that you won't be, but it's just like, all I can do right now is impart you with this. Right? You will find out how precious it is.
Right. They understand the time release aspect of their wisdom.
And if you don't, as an elder, if you don't understand your time release,
the time release of their advice.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. And what I was saying is that as an elder, don't feel any sort of way when you give these precious gems and they're just like, you seem like they just fall by the wayside. Like, okay, man, I just gave you a nugget and you want to put it there?
That's what you did with it?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give it time.
Yeah. Excuse me. And no two relationships are going to be the same.
No. Only, I would say the only constant is that you want to be around each other. That might be one of the constants.
That you want to be around each other?
You want to be around each other.
What? I'm sorry. Are you saying like something that should be within the relationship that you can stand being around one another? Or are you saying like, because there are people who are married actually that prefer to be in different households?
That's what I'm saying. Is that it's not saying that it is a requirement as far as this is what defines us. It's more like, if you don't have the feeling like you want to be around this person, then you might need to.
Well, I mean, I get people get married for different reasons, but yeah, if you want a successful partnership with someone, you would I think that you would definitely want to be around them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as far as
genuinely, if you want a genuine relationship.
Yeah. But
Right.
as far as what the work is going to look like, I think that's where the similarities may be. Like when you have relationship experts and things like that, they'll give you the format, but the way you work it out can be different, I guess. You can get to answers different ways, but it's important to understand who you are. Understanding yourself is important. And I think that's one of the biggest things that should be taught about going into relationships. People often just want to be in a relationship with someone else, connect with someone else. But it's like, how much have you connected with yourself first? So that's it for this episode of Unshaved. Thank you for making time to listen in. Your engagement is very much appreciated. So let me know that you're rocking with the show by sharing this podcast information with others, dropping a comment, clicking the star or like buttons, downloading, subscribing, applauding, or whatever it is that your platform allows you to do. Also, you can show the show some love through donations on Anchor. Remember that when you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you will get to see when we're releasing new episodes and hear the teasers for the upcoming show as well. Just type in Unshaved Podcast. It's my pleasure to share this space with you all. Until the next time, let's continue to live with love and light.